Welcome to the discussion for Lab 4 of CSE 4308. Let's take a look at the topics that we will be covering in this lab. So we are going to take a look at a couple of topics this lab, like the different uses of the where clause and the different other phrases that can be used in conjunction with the where clause. Next, we will take a look at the order by clause, the update statement, the delete statement, the select distinct statement, and finally, we will take a look at aliases. So let's begin. Now, as you might already have guessed, the where clause is used to impose different kinds of conditions on the select queries that we write in our SQL console, right? So normally, whenever we write the select queries without any where condition, we get all the rows that are present in a certain table, right? But what if we want to select a filtered section of rows? That is, what if we want to filter out the result that we get after we execute a select query? Well, in that case, we use the where clause. So to understand the examples of where clause a little bit better, I went ahead and I already created a table called instructor. So this is what the table looks like. We have the instructor ID, name, department name, and salary columns here, where instructor ID or IID is the primary key. And at the same time, I have also populated it with some data like this. So as you can see, we have 10 rows here. All right, so for our examples of the where clause, we will be using this table. Anyway, the syntax for actually writing a where clause is very simple. So let's say a normal select query will be something like this, right? Select star from instructor. But now let's say I want to select only those rows where the salary of the instructors is greater than 12,000. So the way I can do that is simply by writing the where keyword followed by the condition, right? So in this case, the condition is I want to select all those rows where the salary is greater than 12,000. So all I have to do is write something like this: salary greater than 12,000. Okay, and when I execute it, as you can see, I am getting only those values of only those rows where the salary value is greater than 12,000. Okay, now similar to this, we can also implement a condition like this where the salary is less than 12,000, and then you can see that we are getting those rows where the value of the salary under the salary column is less than 12,000. Okay, so this is how basically the where clause actually works. So there are a number of operators that you can use with the where clause. So here I have used the less than operator and the greater than operator, right? So some other operators that you can use are the equal operator, where you basically use the equal operator to match the value of a column to a certain value. So for example, I can write something like this: select star from instructor where salary is equal to 10,000. Okay, in this case, what happens is only those rows will be selected where the value of the salary is exactly 10,000. Okay. Similarly, we have already seen the greater than operator, the less than operator. The greater than or equal operator, you can already guess what it does. Then we have the less than or equal operator. Then we have the not equal operator. So normally, the not equal sign that we are used to is this one, right? But in case of SQL, we can use both this one as well as this operator right here. So we can use either this operator or we can use this operator to signify not equal. Okay, so let's see an example here again. Select star from instructor where salary is not equal to 10,000. So in this case, what will happen? All those rows will be selected where the value of the salary is not 10,000. Okay, and if you don't want to use this operator, you can use this operator as well. It will give you the same result. All right. Next, we have the between operator. Now, the between operator is used to define a range of values. Okay, so let's say I have been asked to only display those rows where the salary of the instructors ranges from 12,000 to 14,000. Okay, so in such cases, I can use the between operator. So let's say select star from instructor where salary between 10,000, or between 12,000 and 14,000, right? So between 12,000 and 14,000. And there, you can see that we are only getting those rows where the value of the salary column is between 12,000 and 14,000 inclusive. Okay, so remember that the between operator is an inclusive operator. So the range that you define, the lower bound and the upper bound are also included in that range. All right. Next, we have the like operator. So the like operator is an operator which we will not be using in this lab. We will be taking a look at it in one of the future labs. But basically what it does is it looks for string patterns or substring patterns in your column value. Okay. And then we have the in operator, and we will be taking a look at the in operator right after we take a look at the and, or, and not operators. Okay. So let's see. Now, you guys are already familiar with the and, or, and not logical operators, right? So similar to their logical operations, they do something similar in SQL operations as well. So let's say you want to satisfy multiple conditions at the same time. In such cases, you use the and operator. In cases where you want to specify one of many conditions or any one of many conditions, then you use the or operator. And finally, you use the not operator to display a record if the condition is not true, right? So let's see an example for each of them here. Let's say, let's take a look at the rows that we have again. So here, let's say I want to display those rows where the instructor belongs to the CSE department and at the same time have a salary greater than 11,500, greater than or equal, let's say. Okay, so two conditions have to be fulfilled here, right? The instructor has to belong to the CSE department, and at the same time, he has to have a salary that is greater than or equal to 11,500. So the way we can do that is by specifying these two conditions by using the AND operator. So we will write where salary is greater than or equal 11,500 and dept name is equal to CSE. Okay, and there we are getting three instructors here, and all of those three instructors belong to the CSE department, and they have a salary which is greater than or equal to 11,500, right? So by using the AND operator like this, we can implement or we can impose multiple conditions that need to be true simultaneously. Next, we have the OR operator. So the OR operator is essentially used to impose a condition that says that any one of those conditions, if true, display that row. Okay, so basically, if any row satisfies any one of those conditions, then that row is going to be displayed. So let's say I have been asked something like this. I have been asked to display the instructors of either the CSE department or of the EEE department. That is, if the instructor belongs to the CSE department, display his information, and at the same time, if he belongs to the EEE department as well, you can display his information. So the way I can do that is by imposing these two conditions by using the OR operator. Okay, so let's start from instructor, where dept name is equal to CSE, or dept name is equal to EEE. So there, now you can see that I am getting the information of all those instructors who either belong to the CSE department or the EEE department. Now, some of you might confuse this question with the AND operator. Since you have been asked to display the information of all the instructors belonging to the CSE department and the EEE department, you might think that you will have to use the AND operator here, but that is wrong. Now, you will see that we are getting no row selected when we use the AND operator in this case. Why exactly is that? This is happening because the value of the department name column cannot be CSE and EEE at the same time for any specific row, right? It has to be either CSE or EEE at a particular time. And so we cannot use the AND operator in such cases. We have to use the OR operator. Now, let's see another example of the OR operator. Let's say I have been asked to display the information of those instructors who either belong to the EEE department or who has a salary that is greater than 12,000. So in such cases, the condition will be something like this, where dept name is equal to triple E, or salary is greater than 12,000. So here you can see that we are getting the values of all those departments or all those instructors where any one of these two conditions are fulfilled. So let's take a look at the first row here. You can see that the department name is triple E. So the first condition is fulfilled, right? So even though the salary is not actually greater than 12,000, we are going to display this row, or we are getting displayed this row because one of the conditions was true, right? The next column, or in the next row, you see that the department name is triple E. So again, one of the conditions is fulfilled, and so we are getting this row displayed to us. Next, and at the same time, you can say that the second condition is also fulfilled. So it doesn't really matter. Either one or all of the conditions, if fulfilled, that row will be displayed. Okay. Next, in the third row, you can see that the department name is MCE, but the salary is greater than 13,000. So since one of the conditions is fulfilled, this row is displayed. And finally, in the fourth row, again, both the conditions are fulfilled, and so this row is displayed. So that is how you use the OR operator. Okay. Next, we have the NOT operator. So the NOT operator is basically used to display a row or a record if the condition is not true, right? So how can we use that? Let's say we have been asked to display the information of all those instructors whose salary is not between 14,000 and 15,000. So the way we can write that down is select star from instructor, where salary not between 14,000 and 15,000. So now, if you notice, the rows that have been returned, none of the rows in this case have any value where the salary is between the range 14,000 and 15,000, right? So that is how you can use the NOT operator in conjunction with other operators like between. Okay. Next, let's see what we have. All right. So next we have the IN operator. Now, the IN operator is essentially a shorthand operator for multiple OR conditions. Okay. So in this case here, or let's say in this case here, we are selecting the rows from this table where the department name is either CSE or triple E. So we have basically defined that the value of the department name can be one of multiple values. It can be either CSE or it can be triple E, right? Now in such cases, instead of writing down this conditions one after another, where basically it is cumbersome to write down these conditions over and over again, we can shorten things down by using the IN operator. So how can we do that? So we will be writing down the same command, but by using the IN operator. So let's see what we can do. Select star from instructor, where dept name in, and then we start a parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis we mention the values which we want to select. So either CSE or triple E. There. Now you can see that we are getting the same result as we would have gotten if we had written something like this, like star from instructor, where dept name is equal to CSE, or dept name is equal to triple E, right? So you can see that we are getting the same result, but in the case of the IN operator, we did not have to write down these conditions over and over again. Now this is especially useful when we have multiple values, not just two values, when we have multiple values which we can satisfy. So let's say we had a very big database and we had a very large number of departments, and from those departments, let's say we had to select all those rows which belong to any one of some specific 10 departments. Okay, So instead of writing all those 10 departments over and over again like this, we can simply use the in operator, and inside the parenthesis, we can specify those 10 departments, right? So it basically makes the OR operation much more easier. I have also specified or stated an example in the lecture material here, so you guys can check the example here as well. Now, the in operator can also be used in complex nested queries like this, where we are essentially using the in operator to select a value that is being returned by another select clause that is being applied as a nested query. Okay, now you don't have to worry too much about nested queries for this lab, because I'm pretty sure you guys have not studied nested queries in your theory classes yet, but even if you have, we will be covering nested queries in the next lab. Okay, but essentially, again, let me say what is happening here. Whenever you have a nested query like this, the innermost query is executed first. So what is the innermost query here? The innermost query is select country from suppliers, right? So at first, all those countries will be all the values of countries will be selected from suppliers, right? So essentially, this this execution is going to happen first, and then the outermost query is going to be executed. So basically what happens is, let's say after the execution of this query, you are returned 3 values, right? Let's say A, B, C. Okay, so basically then what happens is the outer query converts to select star from customers, where country in A, B, C. So in case that does not make any sense, let me show it to you by example. Let's say the innermost query here is select country from suppliers, right? Select country from suppliers. Now I don't have this database made in my SQL console, so this won't work. But basically what will happen, this row is going, or this query is going to return something like this, right? Suppose I have 3 countries called A, B, and C. So this query is going to return me something like this, right? Now, whenever I execute both of these queries at the same time by using a nested query, what happens is select star from customers, where country in, and then I have a nested query here. So whenever I execute this query here, at first this innermost query is going to be executed, right? And whenever this innermost query is executed, we will be getting results like this. We will be getting the results A, B, C, right? So basically, this innermost query is going to be replaced by these 3 values. So basically what happens is the innermost query gets removed, and only this A, B, C remains. So then it basically converts back to a very simple query, right? Where the value of the country can be any one from A or B or C, right? So yeah, that's how nested queries work. I'm pretty sure you guys will learn about it more in your theory class. And at the same time, we will be taking a look at it in more detail in our next lab. Anyway, I've already shown how the between operator works, so we will be skipping that. So yeah, here you can see I have used the not operator again in conjunction with the between operator. So that's how you can use the not operator. And again, I have used the not operator in conjunction with the and operator. Okay, so that's how you can use the not operator as well. Just take a look at those examples here, and all the things will become very clear. Next, we have natural join. So in our previous lab, or in our previous lab discussion, we have talked about Cartesian product, right? So natural join is very close to Cartesian product, but it is infinitely times more useful than Cartesian product. So let me actually show you how natural join works. So let's say I have 2 tables, okay? Excuse my poor drawing skills. So I have, let's say, not an instructor table first, but let's say this is the course table, and this is the instructor table. Okay, now in the course table, I have two columns, course ID and the instructor ID who is responsible for taking that course. Okay. Similarly, in the instructor table, I have two columns, instructor ID and instructor name. In the course table, the course ID is the primary key, and in the instructor table, the instructor ID is the primary key. Now, let's say in the course table, I have two entries, 4307, 4308. Let's say 4307 is being taught by instructor with course ID 1, and 4308 is being taught by an instructor with instructor ID 2. And in the instructor column, in the instructor table as well, I have two entries. Let's say I have the information for instructor ID with instructor ID value 2 and an instructor with the ID 3. Let's say their names are ABC and XYZ respectively. Now normally, if we think of Cartesian product, what happens? There are two rows in this table and there are two rows in the instructor table. So Cartesian product is going to give us a total of 4 rows, which happens somehow something like this, right? So the first row of the first table merges with the first row of the second table, and again, the first row of the first table merges with the second row of the second table. Similarly, the second row of the second table merges with the second row of the first table merges with the first row of the second table, and the second row of the first table again merges with the second row of the second table. So in total, we have 4 rows in Cartesian product. But as you might have already guessed, when we do Cartesian product like this, we get some useless rows that don't actually make any sense. For example, this second row here has the instructor ID as value 1, and at the same time it has the instructor ID value as 3, right? So this doesn't really make any sense because this row does not really have any correlation. So what we do in natural join is we discard the value of all those rows where the value of the common column that is present in the two rows, the common column being instructor ID here, if those common columns does not have the same value, that is, if the common columns do not have the same value under that column, then we discard that row. So let's see what's happening in the first row here. So in the first row, we can see that is in this row here, you can see that the instructor ID has the value 1 in the first table, and the instructor ID has the value 2 in the second table. So this doesn't make any sense. And so the natural join operation is going to discard this row. All right. Next, let's take a look at the second table, that is row number 2 here. In row number 2 as well, you can see the instructor ID in the course table has the value 1, but the instructor ID in the second table has the value 3. And so this table or this row is also going to be discarded. Next, in the third row, you can see that the instructor ID has the value 2 in the course column in the course table, and in the instructor table as well, the instructor ID has the value 2, right? So in this case, the common attribute, that is the common column between these two tables, have the same value, and so this row is going to be kept. And finally, for the fourth row as well, you can see that the instructor ID has the value 2 in the course table, but it has the value 3 in the instructor table, and so this row is going to be discarded. So from this, we can say that if we perform natural join between the course table and the instructor table, we will get only one row, and that row is going to appear as follows: 4308 to XYZ. Now, when we perform natural join like this, the value 2 is going to be displayed once instead of being displayed twice like this. So this is not how it's going to be displayed. This is how it's going to be displayed when you perform natural join. Okay, so that's how natural join works. All right, so now that we understand how natural join works, let's actually see it in practice. Okay, let's say for simplicity, I have created another table here called course. So this is how the table looks like. It has 3 columns: course code, instructor ID, and credit. And it has only 2 rows. Select star for course. It is only these 2 rows. Okay. So we will be doing natural join between this course table and our instructor table. So for easier understanding, I'm displaying the rows that we have under the instructor table. There. So here you can see that we have a common attribute between these 2 tables, right? And the common attribute is instructor ID. Now remember, for natural join to work between 2 tables, both of those 2 tables must have a common column or a common attribute, and those columns must have the same name. So in this case, instructor ID is the common column, and you can see both of these columns have the same name, which is I_ID. Okay. Now again, notice that under the course table, we have only entries for instructor ID 1001 and 1004, whereas on the other hand, under the instructor table, we have entries for a lot of instructors ranging from IDs like 1001, 1002, 1003, 4, and many more, right? So in in Cartesian product, what would have happened is, since there were 2 rows in the course table and 10 rows in the instructor table, in Cartesian product, we would have got 20 rows after doing Cartesian product, right? But in this case, we will get 2 rows in our final natural join operation. And that is because there are only 2 rows with matching instructor ID values on both sides, right? So let's actually do natural join. Select star from instructor, natural join. And natural join is a keyword, right? So just for easier understanding, I'm writing the keyword here in uppercase letters. So basically, after executing this query, we should get only 2 rows. Now, let's say I only want to see the values of instructor ID and the course ID. Okay. The course code in this case. So yeah, so now you see we are getting 2 rows and we are getting the values for instructor ID and course code. And this is happening because only the 2 entries 1001 and 1004 match with the 2 entries that are present in the course table, right? And so only these 2 rows have been selected. All the other rows have been discarded. Okay. And if you want to display all the information again, instead of just these 2 rows, you can simply write select star, and then you will get all the columns, right? So instructor ID, name, department name, salary, and course code. Now again, just to reiterate what I said in that whiteboard earlier, when you do natural join, even if the instructor ID column appears twice in the 2 tables, that is once in the course table and once in the instructor table, after performing natural join, when the rows or when the columns are going to be displayed, the common attribute is going to be displayed only once. Okay. Now this natural join can also be executed, or can also be performed by using a where clause. So can you guys actually imagine what that where clause is going to be? Well, it's very simple. The where clause is going to be, let's say, select star from instructor, comma course, where instructor dot instructor ID is equal to course dot instructor ID. Okay. So what is exactly happening here? We are doing a Cartesian product between instructor and course, but at the same time, we are imposing a condition by using the where clause that says that the value of the, only select those rows where the value of the instructor ID under the instructor table is the same as the value of the instructor ID under the course table, right? Now, since we have IID or I_ID columns in both the tables, the way we specify which column we are actually indicating is by using the dot notation that we have used here, right? So instructor dot instructor ID and course dot instructor ID, right? Now, when we execute this query, as you can see, we get kind of the same result. So what is different here from the natural join operation? The only difference is in this case, the instructor ID is being displayed twice. Okay, so in natural join, the common attribute is displayed only once, but in where clause, unless you specify the columns that you want to display, if you only specify it by writing star, you will get the common attribute displayed twice. Okay, so basically natural join can also be executed or can also be performed by using the where clause. Okay, so let's see what we have next. The order by clause. Okay, so far, whenever we actually have executed any select query, you guys have noticed that the rows that are returned are not in any specific sorted order, right? So in case we do want to sort the rows in a specific order, we can use the order by clause in the select statement or in the select query. So how does that work? So let's say, let's select all the rows again from our instructor table. Here, let's say I want to display all the rows in ascending order of salary. Okay, and the way I can do that is by using the order by clause like this. Order by. So order by are the two keywords that you need to use for sorting the rows, and then you specify the column by which you want to order those rows. Okay, so in this case, I want to sort by salary, so I will simply write salary, and then I need to specify whether I want to sort them in ascending order or descending order. So in case I want to sort them in ascending order, I simply need to write ASC, and there you can see that the rows have been sorted according to increasing order or ascending order of salary. Similarly, if I wanted to display them using the descending order, I would have simply had to write DESC. And there you go. I am getting the values of all those rows, but in descending order of the salary. Now, here you can notice that we have two rows with the same salary value, right? So the salary value 10,000 is the same for both of these two rows. So let's say instead of after sorting these two rows in ascending order of salary, I want to also sort them by descending order of their alphabetical department, alphabetical descending order of their department names. Okay, so basically I want MCE to come first and then CSE to come later. Okay, so the way I can impose multiple sorting conditions like this or multiple sorting operators like this is very easy as well. I simply have to write order by salary ascending, comma, dept name descending. And here you can see that at first the rows have been sorted according to increasing order of the salary, and then if there are any rows which have the same value of salary, like in these two rows here, in such cases the sorting is or the rows are sorted according to the decreasing order of their alphabetical names in case of the department name. Okay, so that's how you can impose multiple sorting conditions in a single select query. Okay, next we have the update statement. So as you might have already guessed, the update statement is used to modify the value of an existing record in a table. So let's say I want to update the values of all those rows here where the salary is equal to 10,000. Okay, let's say I want to make the value of the salaries of such rows to 16,000. Okay, so the way I can do that is like this: update, then the name of our table is instructor, followed by the set keyword, followed by the column whose value we want to change. So I want to change the value of the salary column, and I want to set it as 16,000. Okay, now remember when you execute the query, so remember when you execute the query like this, all the rows in your table are going to be updated. That is, all the values of the salary, that is all the rows of this table is going to have the value 16,000 under the salary column. And why is that? That is because we have not specified any condition as to which specific rows we want to change. So we need to make sure that we specify which rows we want to change by using the where clause. So there is going to be a where clause here where salary is equal to 10,000. So basically what happens here is, at first your select query, or not your select query, your update query is going to select all those rows where the salary is equal to 10,000, and then it is going to assign the value of salary as 16,000. Okay, so let's execute this and find out. You can see 2 rows updated. So why is it saying 2 rows updated? It's saying 2 rows updated because there were only 2 rows where the value of the salary was 10,000, right? Now, if I execute the select statement again, select star from instructor, you will see the rows that had the values 10,000 now have the value 16,000 under the salary column, right? So that is how you can actually use the update command to change the value of certain columns in your table. Also, remember that if you do not specify the where clause like this, all your rows will be updated. Okay, so you can also, let's see another example. You can also do something like this: update instructor, set salary is equal to salary times 1.5, where depth name is equal to CSE. So what is happening here? At first, the update command is going to select all those rows where the department name is equal to CSE. Okay, and then what it's going to do is it's going to increase the salary value by 1.5 times. All right, so if we execute this query, we get 4 rows updated. Why are we getting 4 rows? Because there are 4 rows with the CSE department, right? So now again, if we select all those entries, you can see that the value of the salary column of the CSE department has increased by 1.5 times, right? So basically, you can use update command to perform mathematical operations like this and assign those values under any specific column. Okay, and you can also set multiple, or you can update multiple columns at the same time by using the update command as well. You simply have to use a comma and then set your condition, whatever you want to write. Okay, so anyway, that's it for the update command. Let's see what we have next. The delete command. All right, so we have seen how to update certain rows in our table. Now we are going to see how we can delete certain rows from our table. Let's say I have been asked to delete the entries from this table where the department name is EEE. All I have to do is write delete from instructor where depth name is equal to EEE. Okay, and if I execute this command, all the rows where the value of the department name is EEE are going to be deleted. Okay, now if I did not specify this where clause, then all the rows would have been deleted from our table. Okay, so remember, never use a delete command without any where condition, because it is going to remove all the rows that you have under a certain table. So always specify a where clause like this, and there you can see a confirmation message that says 3 rows deleted, because we had 3 rows with the value EEE under the department. So if we select our entries again, you can see that we do not have those entries anymore, right? So that's how you can use the delete from instructor command as well. Here the keywords are delete and from. Okay, so just remember that whenever you're actually using the delete statement. Next, we have the select distinct statement. Okay, so right now in our salary column, we can see that okay, we have different values under the salary column right now. But say, for example, in this case, we had values under the salary column which are same. So let's say we had 10,000 a couple of times here. So let's make things easier. Insert into instructor values 1005, name ABC, and department name CSE, and the salary as 24,000. Okay. Now when I select the entries from the instructor table, you see that we have two entries with the same salary value, right? Now, what if you wanted to check the distinct salary values that is present inside this instructor table, right? That is, you only want to see the unique salary values under your instructor table. Well, in such case, you can use the distinct keyword. And the way this works is you simply write select distinct salary from instructor. Okay, and here you see we are only getting the unique values here. You can see that none of the salary values are being repeated here, right? So initially we had 8 rows here, but right now we have 6 rows, which means that we had 2 rows here which had the same salary value. Okay, so 16,000 is one of them, or sorry, 24,000 is one of them. The other one is 18,000, right? So we are only getting the unique salary values that are present under this table. Now you can do this for any column. You can simply write select distinct name from instructor, but in this case all of the rows are going to be selected because none of the names are similar. So that's how the distinct keyword works. And finally, for our last topic of the day, we have aliases. Now, aliases are actually a very simple thing, but a very useful thing. Let's say you have a very complex column name under your table. Okay, let's say you have a column called national ID number under a table called citizens. Now, when displaying the information of this national ID column, by using a select query, let's say you don't want to display the column name as big as national ID number. So in such cases, you can use aliases to basically shorten those names and give those columns, or give that column name a temporary name. So if we use the instructor table as an example here, let's say I want to temporarily give the salary column a name of SAL or SAL. So I can do that very easily. So normally when I write a select query, suppose I want to write down a select query that displays the salary, right? So normally I would write something like this: select salary from instructor. So you can see that the column name is salary, right? Now let's say temporarily I want to name this salary column as sal. So all I have to do is use the as keyword, as, and then I write down the temporary name, that is the alias, for the salary column. Okay, and when I execute this, as you can see, the column has been temporarily renamed to sal. Now remember, using aliases does not actually change the name of the column. It only changes the name of the column when you are displaying it by using a select query. The actual name of the column remains the same. So here you can see the actual name of the column remains the same, right? Now the fun thing is you don't really have to use the as keyword. In Oracle, you can actually not write down the as keyword and it will still function the same. So you simply write down the column, give a space, and then write down the alias name that you want to assign to it. And there you go. You have an alias of sal for your salary column. Now you can do this alias thing for multiple columns at the same time. So let's say name as n, salary as sal from instructor, and you can see that the name is being displayed, or the name column is being displayed under the n column, and the salary column is, or the salary values are being displayed under the sal column. Okay, so that is how aliases work. So yeah, you can also give aliases to your table names as well by using this command, but that is not really something that we use too often. Anyway, that's it for the topics that we were supposed to cover in this lab. So hopefully you guys were able to understand everything and will be able to implement these topics in your lab task this week. I'll see you guys again later. Take care.